Terrell Friday with FutureDDS.
Tyler Brown here with FutureDDS.
And today we're doing a Predental playbook. We're here today with Jada. How are you doing? Thanks for joining us.
Hey, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
So, I guess if you could, introduce yourself to all the viewers out there, tell everybody a little bit about where you're from and kind of where you are right now in your dental school journey.
Okay, so my name is Jada Graham. I'm currently a junior at Hampton University where I'm studying biology and I'm on a pre-dental track. I've always wanted to be a dentist since I was 5 years old. I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland. So,
hey. All right, okay. What side from Baltimore are you from?
I'm from Randallstown.
All right, okay. From what side? Got you.
So, originally from Baltimore, I had like a really unique experience growing up in the dentist. Like, when I was 5, I had to get my 4 front teeth completely pulled because my mom was an older parent. I have a brother who's 11 years older than me. Okay. So like when she had me, it was kind of like I had a 12-year-old running around who's playing 5 sports. My mom's a full-time RN and she was a single parent. So it was like pretty much anything that was gonna shut me up, she gave it to me. And I know it wasn't malicious or on purpose, but it was just kind of like her lack of knowledge about the health and the importance of dental health with children. So I grew up like, that was like my first memory being in the dentist, that like outpatient procedure. Then I had to be in orthodontics for 5 years. So that was like my whole middle school career going into high school. And my orthodontist was like really inspiring and I just loved him so much. So then when I got out of my braces, my mom was like, okay, I think it's a good transition for you to have all your like doctors be people of color. So then I started like my physician, primary care was a Black woman and my dentist became a Black woman and stuff like that. So just me seeing people in places that I want to be in just really like increased my drive to want to pursue dentistry.
Right.
So then when I came to Hampton, it's like I found people who were just like me, that were my age, that had a unique story and wanted to go into dentistry. So they really motivated me to like apply to programs and stuff like that. So my first ever like pre-dental or dentistry related program, I got a chance to do the Dentistry Today program at University of Maryland. And it's like a 3-day program and they introduce you to like the history of dentistry. We go to the National Museum of Dentistry in downtown Baltimore for a day and we get exposed to all the specialties. And then they told us the story about Diamante Driver. And it was just like, this happened like in my state. Like I'm from here, like I can help prevent this with my passion for dentistry. So that experience just like really was like, okay, like you really need to kick it into gear because it's not really about you anymore. It's about like you being a representation for those who are coming after you. So right now, like I said, I'm a junior. I have pretty much all the prereqs done, except for like 1 or 2. I am starting my DAT prep next month. Originally, I was supposed to start earlier because I applied to a lot of summer programs. Well, I applied to 2 summer programs. I applied to MED at UNC, and I applied to the University of Detroit Mercy program. Yep. But unfortunately, because of COVID-19, they were both canceled. Yeah. So I was like, you know what? Why stress myself out now when I have the entire summer to study?
Right.
So I was like, let me just knock out these first 2 months, like May, June, and then test in July and go ahead and submit my applications early because I know that's like one of the top tips that people give. Yeah. So that's pretty much where I'm at right now, but I'm just trying to make sure that I'm on the right track.
Okay, so I mean, from a bird's eye view, it looks like you're definitely doing what you need to do. Yeah. And of course, like you said, applying early is huge. I want to ask you, how many, I guess, like upper level science courses have you taken?
So I'm on like the pre-med track here.
Okay.
And so I've pretty much taken I've taken organic chemistry, I've taken biochemistry. I mean, right now I'm in physics. I know we don't need that, but it's a part of our curriculum. I've taken, of course, general chemistry. I've taken microbiology. I'm in cell biology right now.
Have you taken anatomy?
Yes.
Okay, so you've taken anatomy, which is huge. I know some schools don't necessarily offer anatomy.
It's like part 1 and 2. So I took I took anatomy and physiology together.
Okay.
So it's an elective for us. It's not in our curriculum, but I felt that it would make me stand out because like it's not needed, but it's suggested.
Right.
And so it seems like I said, it seems like you're pretty well organized. It seems like you kind of have everything, you know, you have your finger on the pulse, you know what you need to do. Like, are you worried about anything? You know, as far as like within your application, like, do you have any type of like, not red flags? Of course you don't, but what I'm trying to say is like, are you nervous about the DAT? Do you need help with the DAT? Do you need help with, you know, what you should put on your personal statement? Like, what are your main concerns with this upcoming application cycle? Because so far it looks.
Yeah, it sounds like you're on top of it.
I am most nervous about the DAT, if I'm going to be honest, because like flashback to high school, the SAT, I'm not a good standardized test taker. So being at Hampton, it's like you don't really have standardized tests. Like that was like a once in a lifetime thing. I took the SAT and that's it. So I think I'm more so worried about, I'm using the iPrep program.
Yep.
So I'm worried about like me actually doing it, like me actually like dedicating the 2 months to like no matter what's going on outside, when like outside open back up, like all of that stuff, I'm still have to stay in these books. So I'm kind of worried about like my commitment to the studying for the DAT, and what if I don't get the score that I want the first time? How will that affect my application in the cycle? So that's more so what I'm worried about. Like transcript wise, I don't have any like red flags. I feel like my grades are decent, but I just want to make sure that like my personal statement and all my letters and everything speak for themselves in my application. So when it comes to the interview, they can like strictly, you know, like try to get to know me and see if I'm a fit for the school.
So we're actually doing like season 2 of the dental school experience series right now. So literally we're asking all of the students, you know, what are your number 1 DAT tips, you know? And I think that's something that I've at least seen on my half of the interviews, is that a lot of students say that you actually need to do that full practice test.
Yep.
And I know that there's, you know, I know like programs like DAT boot camp, and I mean, I think all programs kind of have it where you can kind of section them off and do like, you know, just organic chemistry or just do biology. And a lot of people tend to do that. But, you know, a lot of people have suggested to the viewers that you actually sit down for that, 4.5 hours, and you take an entire practice test and you do that as many times as you can, so that you're used to the one taking the test for that long, but you're also not as nervous when you first step in to actually take the real test. And I think that's something huge. And I wish I had done that back when I took it. I mean, did you do that, Terrell? Or?
Oh yeah, so that's one thing I actually did do a lot of, is taking a lot of practice tests. One thing I know I did that I think kind of helped me a lot was doing, you know, the diagnostic test at the beginning, figure out where your weaknesses are. Because once you figure out where your weaknesses are, you know exactly where you should put majority of your time studying going forward. So obviously do full length practice tests. Going back and looking at the questions that you got wrong, specifically the questions you got wrong, but even the questions that you got right, if you were kind of on the fence about something, or you saw an answer choice that you didn't understand, then go back and make sure you understand that, because they put it there for a reason. You know what I mean? So a lot of stuff like that, doing full length practice tests and actually doing the test, but limiting the amount of time that you give yourself for the test. So if the test is actually 5 hours, give yourself 4 hours to go through the whole test. And that'll get you more accustomed to doing it more quickly and reading through questions quickly. And when you get to the test, it'll feel like you have like an extra hour, you know, to actually get it done.
Definitely. Another thing I'm worried about is like, because the programs that I applied to this summer are canceled, I'm wondering how, because you know, a lot of these programs is where you get to meet connections within the school and like connect with those on the admissions board and stuff. And I'm wondering how that might affect like me going and applying this cycle, because last summer I did the SHPP program at Howard, and like it was amazing. So I got to meet like so many people, especially in admissions, professors and stuff like that. And I was hoping to get that experience this summer, but I didn't. So I'm wondering how I can still, connect.
And so I actually talked to somebody about this a little bit like earlier today, actually. I think that with the internet today, of course, in person, in face-to-face conversations or that connection, that triumphs all, right? But you're still able to be in a position where you can still reach out to these admissions directors, and literally have your face be known or be seen. And sometimes I know people will email certain people and they won't get back to them as soon as they want to, whatever it may be. That's when you start to get strategic, right? You can start looking on Instagram and figure out, okay, who's the president of, I guess even maybe ASDA or the SNDA. You reach out to them and say, hey, I'm really interested in your school. Is there anybody you can put me in contact with to learn more about the school? And then it just becomes an emailing game, a patience game, because of course everybody's super busy right now. But I think the effort is always has to be there. And like you really just have to shoot your shot. And who knows, you can even get a quick 15-minute Zoom conversation. Everybody has Zoom now, so you can get a 15-minute Zoom conversation with that admissions director, and low key you'll be able to create a more personal connection with them via Zoom for 15 minutes than you would have at the program, because you might have only talked to them at the program for 5 minutes because their attention's just so many other places. Right. But an admissions director typically should be open to speaking students who are or prospective students of that school. So that's what I would actually try to do. Even if I hopped on like LinkedIn, I don't know if you're on LinkedIn, and you type in admissions director for X school, I would reach out to them. Hey, I'm very interested in coming to your dental school. I would love the opportunity to get 15 minutes of your time. And tell them that early. Say 15 minutes, 10 minutes, so that it's not so much of a commitment for them. But yet they, so it's not like, oh, I got all these meetings all these days. I don't want to be, tired by talking for an hour. But if you kind of keep it short, keep it sweet, and make sure that they see your name, see your face, I think that can go a long way in the application process for sure.
Definitely. So both of you coming from HBCUs and now going to Tufts. Tufts is actually a part of my top 4. Awesome. My top 4 right now is Howard, Meharry, UNC, and Tufts.
Okay.
I have seen Howard and I've seen UNC. Howard because of my program, and I went to their Impressions Day. And UNC, I went to their Impressions Day. Meharry, if I'm being honest, people just say it's a lot like Hampton, but just like in a different location. So people are like, I think that you would really like it if you go. And I got to last semester, I got invited to the Increasing Diversity in Dentistry conference with Dr. Buchanan and Dr. Holloway. And I got to talk to the people from Meharry there. And it was just like a real family feel. Like, how you feel at your HBCU? Like, I felt like that there. And then Tufts, just because I met Dr. Holloway, and it's like I learned more about like the school in its position on wellness and like how the technology and stuff. So I was like, okay, I like that. So your transition from your HBCU to Tufts, how was that?
I think the transition, it would be a little different just because we both took time away from school in between undergrad and dental school. So we were able to get another perspective, but it definitely is similar to, I guess a Meharry would be more similar to like HBCU feel, just because a lot of the people that go to that school end up coming from HBCU. So through virtue of, them being friends with somebody, them knowing somebody at another school, like everybody's kind of connected in some way. So it seems more like a family vibe, just because like, if I don't know you, then my friend knows you. And if I'm cool with them, then obviously I'm probably cool with you. That kind of comfort, being in that type of situation. I guess to speak more directly to our perspective, being at Tufts, coming from HBCU, we actually got pretty lucky because our school is very focused on diversity. So our SNDA chapter is like, I guess one of the larger SNDA chapters just because of how many people, African-American students and minority students we have at our school, as well as, like HDA, we have a whole bunch of different clubs and stuff like that. So, and it being a bigger school, we kind of get the opportunity to find our own niche and have like the HBCU connection. We know people that went to HBCUs and like, you can get that vibe, but then you can also get the vibe of people you might not have had the opportunity to talk to in your undergrad experience. So that's kind of what went to, I guess, my decision for choosing Tufts. you know, over like a Howard or a Meharry for dental school. But
Yeah, no, I completely agree with Terrell. I think that you know, it's something that was attractive about Tufts was that it was going to be a change compared to Howard, but like Terrell said, it wasn't going to be that big of a change. And I think that, you know, I loved my time at Howard. It was amazing. Like, it genuinely was fun. But I know how I operated, and it's kind of just like, okay, I've lived in this like family type of style environment, had a great time, made a lot of connections. Let me go and try this, you know, because I had never had that before. And that just being, you know, a learning environment. I mean, outside of high school and middle school, of course, but like, you know, a more mature learning environment with people who I literally know nothing about. You know, there's just so many different cultures that are present at Tufts. That's created a huge learning opportunity for myself. And I knew that was going to happen, especially because Tufts has a huge class size, you know? So it wasn't like I was looking at a small, you know, 60 class size type of situation. But I was like, no, I'm going to be able to meet a lot of different people. Of course, Tufts also has an IS program. So our second year, we have 30 more students come in. So who are already dentists. So that's a whole nother perspective. And I said, you know what, let me try this. Of course, I'm, you know, heavily involved in certain things like the NDA, both of us. You know, if you're able to, you should definitely come to the conference this summer.
sure, if it's still on, yeah.
If it's still going on, you should definitely come. Great opportunity, great networking, great support system. But I think that a lot of people's like worry with regards to kind of making that transition is, will I get that same support that I had at my HBCU at these PWIs? And I think we got lucky with Tufts. One, you know, due to Dr. Holloway's due diligence, she's created an environment where we feel extremely supported. But with that also being said, you know, us having made so many relationships throughout our time pursuing dental school, being in dental school, going to these conferences, and meeting people who come from similar situations as we had beforehand, we're able to still lean on them even though they go to different schools. So that wasn't necessarily as much of a you know, eyebrow raiser, but you do want to make sure that wherever you go, you will be comfortable. And, you know, we always talk about this as well. If you feel like, I don't, like, for instance, I don't know what UNC, I don't know what the demographics look like at UNC. But, you know, if you know, you can be comfortable with people who aren't, you know, your same race as you or whatever it may be. You can be comfortable with people who are the entire same race as you. All I'm trying to say is that, like, your comfort in dental school is huge, and that should be at the top of your priority list. Because if you're not comfortable where you're learning, where you're starting the base of your dental profession, you know, it's setting you up to, you know, not be as happy as somebody who enjoyed their 4 years going through such a rigorous curriculum.
Right.
So I think you're making a lot of great points. I think that you need to continue to do research, continue to talk to students who go to these schools and see how they made that transition. And even talk to people who didn't necessarily make that transition. You know, there might be, you know, some people who went from PWI to PWI. Also see what they feel about the situation, see if they feel supported. Because granted, you know, Terrell and I think we're very personable people. So I think it's very easy for us to feel comfortable anywhere. Yeah. But I think that, you know, you want to kind of figure out, okay, let me see somebody who most resembles me as far as like attitude and, you know, interest, and really lock in with them and talk to them like, hey, this is what I'm looking at. What do you think I should do? And hopefully they'll give you the real, you know, the real spiel about what's going on.
But for the class size, I know Tufts has a huge class size. So, you know, like most HBCUs, the class sizes are smaller. I'm meaning like student to teacher ratio.
Right.
So how was the transition from like maybe having your lecture halls? Like our lecture halls at Hampton are like probably maximum 80 something people versus my friends that go to University of Maryland, their lecture halls are 200 people. So how was the transition from like you being like face to face with your professor versus like you being a part of a huge class?
Yeah, so
go ahead, Rohit.
I was about to say I mean, you still get a lot of like face-to-face interaction in dental school. Like all the students are kind of split up into groups, and they're assigned to professors. So each professor is maybe assigned to like, it's like 3 professors for 20 students or so. It's like 2 professors and a TA, or it might be 3 professors, or, you know, 2 professors and like a, you know, resident or something like that. So you still get that interaction, and you know, professors are still very open. Like if you happen to connect with the professor, like you always go and talk to them, and you know, become more of a colleague with that person instead of them having like a professor-student relationship. That's one thing I learned about dental school, is that everybody kind of turns into co-professionals and like colleagues once you get to that level. So, you know, a lot of times you talk to other students the same way you talk to a resident, the same way you would talk to a professor, because at this point we're all professionals. Like we're all doing the same things at this point. You know what I mean? Obviously they're doing it at a different scale, but I think that it's something definitely to be, I guess, worried about, so to speak. If you know that's your learning style, then even still having a smaller class size, you know, going to lecture halls and stuff like that will help you. But at the end of the day, like for most schools, all the lecture halls, all the lectures are recorded. So a lot of times, like you might go to lecture, it might only be 30, 40 students in there. It might be 50 students in there. Yeah. It might be 100 if it's a, you know, if it's a pre-clin day. Everybody's kind of like more, you know, it's more kind of more mandatory to be there. So, you know, you get all of that. You still have the opportunity to build those relationships, those close bonds, and those close relationships with faculty, just the same you do in undergrad. So, you know, it definitely takes a little bit more reaching out. You know, you got to break out of your shell a little bit more. But as long as you're willing to go out and reach out and put yourself out there, everybody's usually willing to help you and be helpful for you. So.
And that's I was going to say that also, Terrell. I think like one of the main differences is the fact that, you know, I think you have to be more, not aggressive, but you have to be, you just have to actually,
assertive, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Assertive. Just like, hey, I do need help. And whenever you do ask for help, they're more than willing to help you. I've had professors stay with me past the 7, you know, our clinics close at 7. I've had professors stay with me till like 8:30, just help me with a certain procedure and things of that nature. So as long as you make that effort to really reach out to them and say, hey, I really would like your help on this. I mean, I don't think a teacher should never say no. And I mean, I think within dental school, we're such a close-knit profession. Most people who decide to teach are always willing to really reach out, not reach out, but, you know, make that extra step to make sure that you succeed and that you feel like you're learning what you need to learn.
Yeah.
So do you think that how many years did you guys take in between undergrad and dental school?
So I took 2. Yeah, I took 2. Yeah.
Okay. So do you feel like that helped you with your like maturity level and your readiness for dental school?
For sure. I mean, personally, I think so, definitely. You know, being able to, I think the biggest thing for me was getting out there and actually working. Seeing like how hard it is to really just work for a check and doing something that you don't really enjoy doing at all. It's not worth it, you know? So I figured at that point, it's now or never. Just like jump back into school, go get your master's, like do whatever you need to do to get into dental school and finish that up now, because you can get caught in the trap of like, oh, I don't really like this, but I'm making money, or like, oh, I haven't really had the opportunity to get this type of check coming in all the time. I'm very comfortable. Like you can fall into that trap very easily. So I think it's good because it gives you that opportunity to take a step back. You know, like you get to grow personally. Like I know personally I couldn't do it. Like coming straight from undergrad, I wouldn't have made it in dental school at all. You know, didn't know how to study, didn't know how to like really like lock in to scholastic work, like treat it like a job. You know what I mean? Really treat school like a job. So my master's program allowed me to do that. Like I know I'm locked in from 6 o'clock when I wake up and head to campus till whatever time I leave the library, like, and come back home. You know what I mean? Like, and really treating it like a full-time job. And then, you know, get some downtime, see the world, and like learn more about yourself and understand what you really want out of life and the journey itself. So
I was like, I'm kind of stuck between, I know I don't want to take a gap year because I don't trust myself to come back. If I'm going to be honest, like I feel like, because like in high school, I went to a magnet school. So we had the opportunity to like come out like with a trade, I guess. So my magnet was cosmetology. So like I'm a licensed cosmetologist in the state of Maryland. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do this just in case if all else fails, I will always have a job. And I feel like if I go into that gap year, the money will just be like, I'll just get satisfied with that. I wouldn't want to like go back into the school realm. But then it's like, I'm also thinking about the fact that like I'm coming straight from undergrad where like social things are like super important. Like, you know what I'm saying? Well, not like important, but it's a big part of the culture at HBCU. So like, how can I successfully make that transition to like, I can't worry about this homecoming day party because I'm a full-time dental student. Like, I don't know if I can, like, I'm trying to figure out how I can successfully navigate like that transition. But I don't want to think about that too soon because I haven't even applied yet.
Right. No, I think you're being real with yourself.
The day party's still gonna happen. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
And that's real. But it's also just kind of like, you know, I think that something that you feel, and this kind of goes back to like what you kind of told us was like your initial, what initially got you interested in dentistry. When you start dental school, and I mean, granted, just depending on your school, whenever you get your white coat, you genuinely feel a sense of like, oh, you definitely feel a sense of pride, but you also feel a sense of like responsibility. Right. You see what I'm saying? And I think that, you know, I think Terrell and I both can say that like, because we understand that like what we're doing, we're, like you said, we're, you know, we're giving light to a certain situation to like make things easier for people who are coming after us. That weighs heavily on, I can personally say, me and all of the friends that I'm around who are minorities within our school. You know, it's definitely bigger than us. And I think we all understand that and we respect that. And I think that's what's really going to carry you. And to be completely honest, you're not even gonna have time to really be thinking about certain things. Like, I know you might think that you can be like, dang, you know what, let me go do this party, let me do this, let me do that. You'll see in dental school that like a lot of that stuff, you work so hard throughout the week, you're not even thinking about really going out like that.
It'll
like,
be there for you if you choose, but for the most part, you're
gonna be chilling.
Yeah, you're gonna be chilling.
And I'm telling you, you work so hard. So like, I understand why you think that might be an issue now. But, you know, I would never, ever, ever, ever suggest that somebody who has the option to start school or not stop school to take a year off just to kind of like find, like, no. If you're able to go to school, go to school. Granted, I'm grateful for my 2 years off. I know Terrell is as well. But if you're able to go into school, you, even just having this conversation with you, honestly, I can tell that you will step up to the plate, and it's going to be rough. It was rough for everybody. I did a master's program and it was still rough for me them first years, you know, like that first semester, it's still going to be hard regardless. But you pick up, you know, you understand the system, you understand the speed at which you have to work, and, you know, you do what you got to do. For real. For real.
So another big thing I'm thinking about is how to finance my education. So a lot of people, like, okay, I won't say like a lot of people, but some people I speak to, it's kind of like, it's an investment. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's an investment, which it is. Yeah. But I also don't want to like not see financial freedom till I'm 70. So what's the best way to go about that?
You ahead, Terrell.
Yeah, I'm like, it's funny. I mean, we talk about this all the time, honestly. Like, Tyler and myself, like all our friends, we really do talk about like the financial investment that it is. Cause I mean, at the end of the day, it is an investment. It gives you the opportunity to make a lot of more money on the back end. It's just that like now we're just really trying to understand the impact that is going to be to your lifestyle. So you can, there's a couple different ways people think about it. They just think like, okay, I can go the like the Army route or find scholarships before I get into school and not have, and figure it out that way. Or I could take these loans and then the first 5 years I get out of school, first 7 years I got out of school, I'm doing nothing but living like a college student and like paying back my loans, and they're just getting out the way. So they have freedom after that. And depending on which school you go to, like obviously it might be 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, however long you're working. Then the last person or the last situation is more so, you know, buying their time, kind of paying back their loans over time, but make sure that they're making smart investments and doing things that are making the money along that route. So there's like, I mean, there's a lot of options. There's no one sure shot way. There's no magic bullet to like taking care of student debt. You know, if you can do the Army then I mean, more power to you. You know, if you can do the Army and are willing to sacrifice a certain amount of time after you graduate to serving in the Army or serving in the Navy, serving some type of armed forces or the National Health Scholarship, Corps scholarship or whatever. So, you know, there's a lot of different options, but I think the biggest thing is just focus on like learning to love dentistry and learning the business of dentistry while you're doing it, so that you feel comfortable about like, okay, it'll take me 10 years to do it if I make this much money, or this is what I need to do in order to make this much money. And like this also fits into what my vision is as being a dentist, because you don't want to get caught into the realm of, oh, I'm gonna work corporate dentistry just so I can get this money to pay back my loan really quick, and then hate working because you don't like that style of dentistry, or like all the, you know what I mean? Like 5 years from now, you might decide you want to go into a specialty. And then that's like another 3 years in school where you're not going to be getting paid, but it's not about necessarily getting paid at the time. It's more so about what are you learning? What mentorship are you learning? What type of smart investments are you learning? Because at the end of the day, like once you finish paying for that, you still have to make smart decisions with your money. You still have to like do other things with your money in order to make you more money and have you feel secure, solidified, and have that wiggle room to live the life that you want to live. So I think it's definitely, you know, it's a longer conversation now. I feel like we have time to like delve into specifically for like what you are looking for and like lifestyle and everything. But I will say like every dentist that I've talked to pretty much says, don't worry about it. You'll pay it back. Like, don't worry about the debt as much. Just worry about literally learning dentistry, learning the process of dentistry, and then picking up the business side of dentistry as much as possible, especially if you want to go into business ownership. You know, that's a whole nother thing. Ownership versus associateship, like it's a whole another avenue to go down, you know. So
and it's like, I think you, like Terrell said, you have to be honest with yourself, you know. Like we have a homegirl who she's like, look, I understand y'all want to be entrepreneurs, that's great. She's like, you know what, I'm just going to do the Navy. So she did the Navy scholarship, got everything paid for, lives in a nice house, you know, still getting a stipend, eating good. She's going to come out making X amount of money. She might even she might even specialize, you know, but it's like, she knows that she wanted to go that route. And I don't want to say it's a safer route, but it's just not a route for everybody. But if you know, like, I think when I hear financial freedom, you know, I just naturally think of like entrepreneurs. You know, something that I've been seeing, especially with this coronavirus thing, is like a lot of dental practice owners are stressed right now. You know, and I don't know if you're on these certain Facebook groups like Dental Nachos, and like there's a whole bunch of different ones that you can look into. But a lot of practice owners are sweating and are really bad situations. And, you know, I was talking to one of my mentors and we were talking about situation, and they were saying how, granted, of course, it's unprecedented. Nobody could have planned for this, but you know, he says a lot of things with practice ownership is that a lot of people think they want to be owners, but they genuinely don't want to be owners, because with ownership comes a lot of other responsibilities that you have to, you know, you have to take up for. And that's why DSOs are which are like, you know, the Aspens, the Pacific Dental, the Heartland Dental. That's why they're starting to make a more run for corporate dentistry. They're starting to make a more prominent run. You know, more people are signing up to be a part of these DSO programs. You could do ownership throughout DSOs because they're going to handle all of the business side of things, but yet you're still an owner per se because you're calling all the shots, but they're the ones who are handling the books, handling all these different things. So that's an option for some people. But of course, with that being said, those people are splitting their profits 50% with the DSO. And so you have to be honest about yourself. What do you like to do? What do you love to do? Something that Terrell and I were just talking about the other day, where we're like, yeah, we said we're businessmen, but like, how many businesses have we started? How many businesses have we ran? You know, it's all about these like tangible things that you've done and that you know that you want to do. And that just comes from you being honest with yourself and, you know, really just recognizing the situation that you're putting yourself in. Because when we graduate, we're going to have $400,000 in debt.
Right.
And keep in mind, interest is just going to keep accumulating. So, you know, it's real, and you have to be ready for that. You know,
know that.
And so when people, like, when a lot of older people are telling me like, of course you'll be out of it, you'll be out of debt soon, whoop de whoop, I'm also thinking like, okay, but you know, no disrespect, but you might have graduated with 75,000.
Right.
I owe the government 450.
Right.
We're talking different. That's different. We're talking differently at this point. So just keep that in mind. Do your research. I will really get like a wide array of mentors. So like older dentists, but especially like younger dentists, somebody who did a startup office, somebody who's working for a DSO, and literally like just kind of tailor it to yourself and another thing, last thing, tailor it to yourself, but also stick with that. I think that granted, take your time to make the decision, but like I wish I had really, really been set on my plan earlier, so I could have been working towards that plan this entire time.
Right.
And like I could have been looking for a certain mentor who did his own startup or whatever it may be, and could establish that relationship over these last 4 years, and therefore been better when I got out of dental school. So just keep in mind, just yourself, do your research, and really understand what position you're putting yourself into, because not everybody has the benefit of having mommy and daddy paying off their student loans. So also be careful about who you're talking to too.
Very true.
Some people will give you some advice, but little do you know their parents paid for their whole dental education. So it's just completely different. You know what I mean? So
Also, I mean, just to piggyback, run on too long, but anybody out there watching too, don't let it scare you about how much debt it is, because at the same time, it is an opportunity to open up another level of financial income and freedom and opportunity to do something that you genuinely enjoy doing.
Don't they say the fastest way out of that is practice ownership?
Yeah, practice ownership is the fastest way out of debt.
Yeah, the fastest vehicle. So
yeah, so don't let it scare you. Don't let the debt scare you, or don't let the idea of being an owner scare you either. There's always tools and people that can help you along the way, and people that will like make sure you succeed as long as you're willing to put in the work too. So like I'd say definitely don't let it scare you. Don't let it deter you from pursuing dentistry, especially if you think it's something that you want to do, because it's a good profession. It's something that's going to last. And yeah, on the back end, it's just like, again, you get opened up to so many avenues of being able to do it. So, yeah, just do it. I think you'll be good on the back end. Don't think about it too much right now.
So, at this point, do either one of you guys want to specialize?
Nah, I don't think so.
Okay.
Thought about it for a little while, but I don't think that's going to be the route for me.
Because I want to, but I don't know. Right, like my whole life until I got to college, I wanted to be an orthodontist. Mm-hmm. But then something just like switched, and I was like, I think I want to do pediatrics. So I got in touch with a dentist who works like in Williamsburg, Virginia, which is about 40 minutes away. Mm-hmm. And she went to Hampton, and then she went to VCU, and then she stayed there to specialize in pediatrics, and she has her own practice here. So I reached out to her, and she was like, yeah, just come like twice a week. So I had like a little mini internship with her last semester, and I really got to see, like, I was like, I really like this. Like, I could come to work every day and do this, but a lot of people say don't go in so like set on a specialty and not be open to all the other things that you can go in with dentistry. So I didn't know if it was like good for me to have a couple of specialties like in mind that I know I wanted to do, or just kind of go in and see where it takes me.
You'll be exposed. Yeah, you'll be exposed regardless. I guess depending on your school.
Yep.
But I think that, just kind of see. Granted, you can always, if you have an idea that you want to specialize, the one thing I will say is just to make sure you keep your grades up. You know, and that should be in any situation, of course. But I think that we've definitely seen people get into these residencies with like, not ideal GPAs, but I think it just makes everything easier if you do have a higher GPA. So if you know that this is something that you want to do as far as like, you really want to specialize, just make sure that you're locked in. And, some of them weekends you studying instead of going to the house parties or whatever it may be. You know what I mean? Like,
and also just start trying to, like you said, depending on what school you choose, schools might have specialties. Like go into those clinics and like just sit in there and shadow and like talk to those professors and stuff. Kind of get your name out there, because that'll help as well. It's definitely about the grades, but also like who your network is definitely plays a part as well. So.
So so I know like the applications, I believe they open in May. So once they open, people say to apply early, which I'm going to regardless, because I feel like that's key. Like even when applying to college, I feel like it's important to apply early.
Right.
But what do you think is like, what part of the application do you think weighs the heaviest?
Probably, I mean, most great like DAT and GPA.
Yeah.
I mean, they definitely take the most from that, I think. I think after that, it will go into like the extracurriculars, which you kind of are doing for enrichment, different things like that. But for a certain point, it's like you have to have a certain, I guess they want to see a certain like level to make sure that you'll be able to handle the workload and kind of be able to handle the coursework.
Right.
So I think that's like the biggest part. But I mean, for you, like your GPA seems to be pretty good. Like you're ahead on classes and stuff, so that shouldn't really be an issue as much. Yeah, just focusing up on like the DAT, trying to shadow as much as you can, and get very like genuine, novel like dental experiences. So like over the summer there might be like a DM might do a webinar, or like as they might do a little web series or something like that. Like check in with these different sites and just try to do as much webinar stuff as much as possible and try to get as much enrichment as possible, especially because you might not be able to do the summer program. So like just doing different things like that, like little classes. They might have like, you know, different pre-dent classes or different dental enrichment classes you can get into and kind of do.
So for interview wise, I know some like each school has a different style. So the MMIs, like did y'all experience those during y'all interviews?
No,
We did not have MMIs. I talked to a few students actually that have done the MMIs. Have you talked to anybody yet, Tyler? That's done it?
Yeah, a couple of people have. Yeah.
Okay. So it seems interesting. It seems like a new style.
Yeah.
It kind of standardizes a lot of like the interview stuff, because you get like 5 or 6 people's perspective on the student versus just 1 or 2 people's perspective. So I like that aspect. But
When they like sometimes we have schools to come in and speak to us. Our pre-med, like we have like MAPS, which is like Minority Association of Pre-Medical Students. So that, and like our USNDA and all that stuff, we have people to come talk to us. And every time they come and talk to us about MMIs, they leave and all of us are like, won't like that. Like, I don't like the whole, like, you have 5 minutes to like solve this issue. Like, it's just like, we feel like it takes away from like the personal aspect you get. Like when you go to the school, you get to tour the school, of course, you get to meet with a student and stuff like that. I feel like that form of interview is kind of like taking away the personal aspect to see and like feel out the school. So I was wondering if you guys like experienced that. But I've heard some people say it's not bad, but other people it's like that it kind of like shook them up because it's the type of style where you kind of need practice. So you kind of like have to keep doing it. But overall, do you guys have any advice for me for just like the whole application process?
I guess in respects to interviews, I'd say from what I've heard from people with MMIs, is just like you kind of just have to go in there, and it's like, I don't know, it's kind of weird. It's like you're selling yourself because you don't really have a conversation. It's like a prompt on the door, I think. And you go in and then you kind of just respond to the prompt in a way, and they kind of do it that way. So what I mean, I don't necessarily have any specific advice for that. I'd say pretty much just be yourself and kind of talk to as many people and build as many relationships outside of the actual interview portion of the interview. Because I think that'll carry over as well. Like, you know, a lot of times professors might ask a student that was doing a tour, or ask a student that was able to sit with the students at lunch, kind of get a different perspective on certain students and kind of get a feel for them. So I think having that aspect of it is fine. And then also just try to come up with stuff that's very specific to yourself. Like you're pretty much going to get general questions. Like every interview, you pretty much get similar general questions. So come with examples and answers that are specific to you, that'll kind of show your personality as best as possible, while still answering the question at hand. That makes sense. I think that's the best. That's the only thing you can really practice, is kind of interject things that are you know, unique to you, your journey, your experiences, your enrichment experience, stuff like that, that'll kind of portray that across in your responses. And that's with MMI or any other type of interview answer response.
Yeah, and I think just like Terrell said, be yourself and really be confident.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at that point, you're walking in there. They've seen your GPA, they've seen your DAT. They know like you met that criteria. So at this point, it's just showing who you are and knowing that like you're going to be a great dentist. You know this. I think when people get nervous and they start to portray the dentist that they or the student that they think the admissions want to see, I think that's when things start to go south. Continue to be yourself. Continue to be unique. I think that's also huge because realistically, I'm telling you, and I talked to a couple people on admissions, they literally hear the same story every day. Oh, I was a bio major, or I shadowed this dentist, da 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 da. Be unique, be rememberable. Of course, don't do anything crazy, but literally just be yourself, and you'll be okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's all my questions I really have. I really appreciate you guys like doing this because I know a lot of like pre-dents. It's kind of like we're looking for like advice on all different steps. Like you said, having those different mentors, like talking to students in dental school, also talking amongst each other to see, okay, where are you at? Have you started studying yet? Versus speaking to a dentist that just graduated. Like, how are you transitioning from being in school and now this is like your full-time job and you have to pay back your debt versus like an older dentist. So I really appreciate this stuff.
We appreciate your time, definitely.
Yep, thank you for being a part of this. This is good.
This is good. If you ever need any other help, just let us know. We're definitely here for you.
Definitely. I should be up to, I was planning on coming to Tufts this summer, but Corona. So hopefully I'll be there for an interview in the fall.
You will.
So
yep. I'm sure you'll be here. You'll make it happen. Definitely.
So thank you guys again so much. And I'll definitely be reaching out to you guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Jada.
Yep,
no problem.
That's another episode of Predent Playbook.
What are we gonna call this?
Yeah, we don't know. We're still working with the name, but yeah, that was just a really good conversation with Jada. For all you guys out there who have any questions for us, make sure you head over to Instagram, follow us _FutureDDS, send us a DM, let us know what you got on your mind. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. But if not, make sure you hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the notification bell so you know whenever we post up new content. And if you have any comments, add it down to the comment box, and we can start a convo there. But Jada, again, thank you. Best of luck going into your application cycle and everything.
No problem. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.